This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you everyone for attending. Tonight is the regular monthly meeting. It's Tuesday, April 4th, 2023 of the Clinton Inland Wetlands Commission. The time is 7:02. And I guess, Kathy, would you mind calling roll for tonight?
Sure. Scott Harley.
Present.
Ryan Tardisel.
Here.
Tanya Abatello.
Here.
Bert Schmitz.
Here.
Mike Florio.
Here.
Eddie Alberino, I know he's absent tonight. Robert LaFrance. Not here. Lawrence Edwards.
Here.
Kimberly Lombard. Not here. Okay,
And then can we seat Larry for Eddie?
sure.
So Larry, you can vote tonight.
Very good.
We'll just leave Rob's seat open for whenever he joins. And then Tanya, just note whatever time Rob joins for the meeting minutes.
Sure.
Okay, so item agenda number 2, minutes. We need to approve the meeting minutes of the February 7th, 2023 meeting, which was our last. So if nobody has any additions or modifications to those, I'll take a motion to approve those.
This is Bert. I'll move to approve the minutes from February 7th, 2023.
I'll second.
Brian seconds. Any discussion on those meeting minutes? No. Okay, all those voting in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed or abstain? Okay. Item agenda number 3, chair's comments. I don't have any comments for tonight. I guess just to note, Kathy, for either whenever you or Sherry put together the agenda, I assume as Sherry, if she doesn't mind moving chair's comments just to the end.
Sure.
In case I do have comments that we don't have to hold up a meeting for those.
Sure.
Item agenda number 4, receipt of applications received after the filing of this agenda. I don't believe that there are any for tonight.
No.
Okay. All right, item agenda number 5, application reviews. So this is going to be IWC 23-2. It's 17 Baxter Road. Wilson and Scott Santiago are the applicants and owners. This is for an application for activity within 50 feet of an inland wetlands or a water course. It's for the removal of wood chips. Assessor's map 14, block 4, lot 70 in the zone R30. And then just to note, without an extension, the deadline to make a decision for our commission or hold a public hearing is April 13th. So we either need to make action on a public hearing, a determination of either approval or denial, or I believe ask for an extension after this meeting. So just if everyone keeps that in the back of their mind. So I see Mr. Mandel, I assume you're here representing the applicant still?
Very good assumption, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. So I'll turn it over to you if you don't mind walking us through what has changed in the application since we've left it in.
No, that's fine. So nothing has really changed in the application. This is really the result of a corrective action that was being taken. I'm sure most of the commission is very well aware of the wood chip dumping. They've walked it several times, went back and forth. We had a remediation plan that was rejected. That was withdrawn, actually. Went to DEEP. They said that was waste that had to be removed, the wood chips. So we did come up with a plan to remove them with a commercial vacuum. It's also, so they'll be hand raked into the vacuum. The tube can be extended downhill. They'll stage it on the top of the hill. We've contacted the Westbrook and the Clinton solid waste facilities, the town dumps. They both receive wood chips, no charge, unlimited amounts. So they will be removed from the site, loaded onto pickup trucks, and then brought to the waste facility. If need be, we can get documentation, tickets, but you'll know by the absence of the wood chips on site that they'll be removed. I've been out there several times over the past couple of weeks, months. It's all very stable. The silt fence is still up. There's been no noticeable movement of any of the chips. That, like I said, they've been stable since. And the application for tonight is to remove the chips with a vacuum, commercial vacuum, to be hand raked and to be removed. And the time frame will commence immediately unless we need to wait for the 15-day appeal period. But as soon as the weather seems to be getting better, there's no frozen, it's not a frozen layer anymore, so we can start removing those upon approval. I don't know, since this hasn't, I've never been involved in something like this, so I don't know the speed of which, but I would imagine after the first few hours, we'd have a pretty good sense of the time limit, and I can certainly let Kathy know the time frame for this.
I don't mean to interrupt, but Tanya, just so you know, Robert LaFrance has arrived.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so does anyone from the committee have questions on the revised site plan? If you click on the link in our agenda, you can access that. I only have one.
It was more of a project narrative. The plans actually haven't changed. It was really just more supplementing with project narrative of how the chips will be removed and where they will be going.
Okay. The only question I have is, so once you remove the wood chips, how do you stabilize the slope? Is it you just gonna let it kind of grow back naturally?
Yeah, it was very rocky. The boulders are actually interspersed, and so it was very stable before. It hasn't moved, and it will remain. We're not proposing anything. Just remove the silt fence and make sure it will vegetate naturally.
Okay.
How soon would you be able to find out what date this would be able to occur?
Well, I mean, per state statute, I think there's a 15-day appeal period. So we could start removing them tonight if we get the approval. It would be at our risk. If someone appealed it in 14 days, 15 days, then we'd have to stop. But I don't see this as being an appealable type of application.
Well,
anything's possible.
My only concern would be that somebody from wetlands would be able to supervise what's going on over there, you know?
Well, we have been in contact with Kathy, and to start up, once we get engaged and get the equipment staged, prior to anything, the wetlands enforcement officer would be present. If you're a commission member, that's fine too. We can certainly make an announcement and people can witness it.
I said I would go, and I would like to get the tickets from the transfer station or the dump, just so I have it in the record. And also just to note that this would bring them into compliance with DEEP, because that was, I never got a formal letter, but when I went out with Eugene McGillis, they had found it to be a violation because it was, waste facility having so many wood chips out there. They wanted them removed, so this would bring them into compliance with that as well.
Yep, Rob.
Yeah, Mr. Mandel, I just want to confirm that that's your understanding as well. I don't know whether you've had the chance to speak with the DEP.
Yeah, we never did get a formal letter, but I was in contact also with DEEP, and that was the understanding, that it was a violation.
Okay, and to the extent that your remediation, for lack of a better term, or the removal of the wood chips would bring you back into compliance, is that your understanding of what the department's position is as well?
Yeah. We're going to restore existing conditions is the intent.
Okay, that's thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Oh, okay. So first we need to determine if this application is considered a significant activity or in the best interest of the public that would warrant a public hearing. So we can do this by consensus. Does anyone believe that the work constitutes significant activity or we should hold a public hearing?
So Scott, I guess my concern here is sort of twofold. One is I know there has been a long-standing interest from the folks in the community about this issue. So at some level, I believe there's a public interest here. But by the same token, the flip side of that is to actually get the work commenced, right? To actually get the thing accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I'm looking at is, some level, I think it's probably both a significant activity and in the interest of the public, to the extent that that can be mitigated by the fact that there are controls to help protect the wetland. I mean, that's where I struggle with the significant activity. In essence, it's a remediation to bring the thing back to its original condition. So I think at some level, since there's really no impact on the wetland, I can probably be okay with that. What I'm more worried about is whether and I guess I'm looking for maybe some dialogue with the rest of the commission, which is to say, is there something that we should be doing just to give the opportunity for the public to weigh in on their views of what's ultimately happened here? I think many have had the opportunity over the number of times that we've talked about this to weigh in with us individually, or to talk to folks within the land use office. So I don't know, anybody else have any points of view? I mean, I'm balancing in my own mind the difference between getting the thing accomplished and giving the public the opportunity to speak on it.
I just think we get let them do it.
I would just, let's get this thing off the books and everything. We've been playing around with this project now for several months.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think we're gonna be getting it resolved. So let's get it resolved and get it off the books.
Yeah, I tend to. Robert, I am right there with you. Like, you know, anybody who's been out there knows how interested the public is in this. Obviously, we've heard from other members of the public, both through Kathy and I think even here. I think you're right. I think that it's a hard dichotomy, but when I think about what they're just putting it back to where it was, which is seemingly what everybody wants. So I think in my head, I think I can get to, let's get this going now. Like I'm good to go on it. Kathy's going to be out there checking it out once in a while. You know, if something goes wrong, well, you know, the public will certainly be notified.
Chuck Mandel here, just to weigh in a little bit. I don't see many members of the public coming out in favor of leaving the chips there. So I think the commission's due diligence, it would be warranted to just go ahead and get this over with already.
Yeah, I believe that the committee makes up, you know, a voice of the public also, and that's the reason why we're here. So, you know, I think we pretty much decided last meeting in January, or was it February, that we were going to just go ahead and let him clean it up. And I think if he makes the effort, and it's, you know, back to where it was.
Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your weighing in. Helps me a lot.
Okay, so by consensus, the commission determines that this is not a significant activity, nor in the best interest of the public, so a public hearing is not warranted for this application. So if nobody has any other questions for the applicant or its agent on the application, I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll motion it.
Larry motions to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Either Ryan or Bert.
Bert.
Any discussion? Okay, so I assume that we're just going to apply our standard conditions.
Yep.
To this, okay?
And then I'd like the tickets from the transfer station on there.
Mhm.
And if I could, and I'd also like to be notified so I can be out on site.
But Tanya, would you mind just making those notes that that the applicant should submit the tickets to the waste facility for the dumping of the wood chips, just as for the project files, and to notify her prior. I assume you want prior notice.
Please.
Which is part of the standard conditions anyways. Is
Yeah, so I can make
notice,
arrangements to be out there.
Does anyone wish to place any other conditions on this application?
No.
Okay. Kathy, would you mind doing a roll call vote?
Sure.
So this would be vote in favor of approval of this application.
Okay. So Scott, remind me, I know in some of the commissions, the chair votes and some the chair doesn't vote. Are you a voting member on this? Or do
I
you
am.
abstain? Okay.
I
So
do vote
Scott
sometimes.
Hartman?
I'll vote yes.
Okay. Ryan Tardisel?
Yes.
Tanya Abatello?
Yes.
Bert Schmitz?
Yes.
Mike Florio?
Yes.
Lawrence Edwards?
Yes.
Robert LaFrance?
Yes.
And Kimberly's not here. That's everybody.
Great. All right. Motion is approved.
Unanimous.
Thank you. One point, Mr. Chairman, I know we're on the agenda for later on. Can we deal with that right now and just get this over with for the violation? Would that be possible?
Sure. I don't think you'll need to speak on the violation, but we could take that up right now in case
Okay.
you do want to speak on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so motion's approved. Let's move to item agenda number 6. So this is administrative review and Kathy's staff report.
Well, I feel that if the work is done, the violation will be closed.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll come out, I'll take pictures, I'll report back to the commission, and once I see that the work's been done per the plan, then I'll close the violation, report back to the commission. So that's what I usually do. I feel pretty confident that'll be fine.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
She has good taken with that.
Any concerns with that, Mr. Mandel, about closing the violation?
No, that was fine. I figured it would be a quick little talk.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel, and thank you, Mr. Santiago. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, Kathy, I guess on to 0 Blaine Avenue.
Yes. So Michael Ott, PE, is here to speak about that. I don't know if you've all had a chance. I realize I sent it out this afternoon. I sent a report. If you haven't had a chance, I just want to give you a brief background. I'll keep it short. So this came in the end of November of 2022. I received a report from a property owner adjacent to Blaine Avenue. We're calling it 0 Blaine because it doesn't really have an address. We're going on it, there's a dirt road and it's right at the beginning of that road. There's like a culvert underneath it. The neighbor reported there was a man using heavy equipment in the water course and the inland wetlands. She said that the man was pulling material out of the culvert and she was concerned that he was harming the beavers. She said the activity had changed the level of the water course and it was just muck. She claimed he was draining the pond. So I went out to the property and I spoke with the property owner, who was Brian Goodrich, and the man working on his property named Justin Miriam. I explained they could not use heavy equipment in the water course or the wetlands, nor could they remove or deposit any material without permits. While I was there, I observed chains around a couple of trees on the edge of the water course. They were going to be removing those, and I told them they couldn't do that either. I talked with Mr. Goodrich about the beavers. He said he was concerned the beaver dam was causing flooding on the dirt road leading into the mobile home park that he owns. I talked to them about beaver deceivers and water leveling systems. I told him I would get him some information. In the interim, he did hire a licensed trapper and he had the beavers trapped. Then I received a call the very next day from the complainant again, saying that that man was back working on the property, doing work in the water course again, despite my conversation with him. So I went back onto the property, and this time I brought Abby Pearsall, our town planner, with me. And I talked with Mr. Miriam again and Mr. Goodrich. They had installed a metal gate and a fence in the waterway. And I told them they had to be removed. And I told Mr. Miriam and Brian Goodrich they had to cease and desist any activity in the wetlands and water course. I had mailed a warning of inland wetlands violation to Brian Goodrich on 12/2 for using heavy equipment in the wetlands and removal and deposition of material without a permit. So I based that on regulations 4.3 and 6.2 of the wetlands regs. And then I told Mr. Goodrich I was requiring him to have a certified soil scientist delineate the wetlands on the property to determine the normal level of the water. And I also wanted him to work with an engineer to determine what, if any, remediation would be needed to mitigate any adverse impacts to the habitat and the ecosystem. I issued a notice of violation on 1/19, and then I issued a cease and desist order on 131 because no action was being taken in response to my letters. So I've been working with Mike Ott and Rich Snarsky, certified soil scientist, as well as Mr. Goodrich. Rich Snarsky did delineate the inland wetlands. Mike Ott said he was going to have them mapped, and Brian Goodrich will be able to apply for a wetlands application to remediate whatever adverse impacts this activity has had on the water course. Mike Ott, I spoke with him today, and he said he has spoken with Rich Snarsky, and he said the pond should be raised about 6 inches. Mike Ott said he will recommend that Rich Snarsky supervise the repair with large flat stones that have to be properly placed to the proper elevation. So Mike is here and can speak more to the engineering piece and what he's seen, but I just wanted to give you some background. So this is a violation that's been going on for a while. The reason you haven't seen anyone yet was Mr. Goodrich was not able to attend the meetings, and at the time I didn't have anything to show you because there was no wetlands delineation at the time and no mapping, and I wanted them to have those things before they came to see you because I didn't have anything to show you from an application. So with that, Michael Ott can speak. And Mike, if you need me to share your screen, let me know and I can make you a presenter.
Okay, yes, Kath, I would like to share my screen if I could.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm just for the record, I'm Mike Ott. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor. Sorry, I'm looking at what's popped up on my screen here from Kathy. I am I'll start over. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with Summerhill Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors in Madison, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Mr. Goodrich. He asked me to help him with this. There's not a lot. I don't think there's a lot of engineering here. What I've seen from visiting the site, some photos that I'll show you, and in several conversations with Rich Snarsky, I think this is probably a pretty simple matter of placing some stones at the inlet of the existing culvert to bring the water surface elevation back up to its normal level. I really think that Rich should determine that. I think he's the best person to, based on his knowledge of inland wetlands and water courses and the vegetation that's there. He has indicated to me that he thinks it would be about a 6-inch raise to put it back where it was. I didn't see any signs of vegetation removal or ground disturbance. I know it's been a while, I guess, since Mr. Goodrich had his equipment in there and was doing the work, but it wasn't apparent to me when I was out there. I've been out there a couple times. I was out there again yesterday morning. So if I could share my screen, I don't know if the commission has.
Yeah, I made you presenter.
Okay, thanks, Cal.
Mm-hmm.
Can the commission see my screen now?
Yes.
So have you all been out to the site?
They have not done a site walk yet.
Okay. So this is good then. So this is standing on the up. So this culvert carries a driveway that comes in off of Blaine Avenue to serve Mr. Goodrich's property. And this view is standing upstream, looking downstream at the upstream face of the culvert. So it's an old stone culvert. It's about 2.5 feet in width, if you can see my cursor, and it's 4.5 or so feet in height. When you look through it, and also when you go on the downstream end, you see, I don't have a photograph, but there is a 36-inch reinforced concrete pipe at the downstream end. It's pretty obvious when you stand here and look into the culvert that at some point in time widen the driveway, and rather than continuing this culvert construction, they put a 36-inch pipe in. So I have another picture, if I can see if I can switch to it without unsharing. Can you all see the change in the photo?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just still standing upstream and turning around rather than looking at the culvert, but turning around and looking directly upstream. And this is what it looks like today. This photo was taken today, actually. I've never been to the site before this happened, so I don't know what it looked like. But according to Mr. Goodrich and Mr. Snarsky, there was ponded water here. You can see the watercourse channel here where my cursor is, but it's my understanding that this area was, normally completely submerged. So this is the area that has been dewatered by Mr. Goodrich's activities at the culvert. I'm guessing that in removing, and again, this is just a guess, but I'm guessing that in removing the beaver dam, he must have also removed whatever was at the culvert inlet that maintained this upstream water face and water surface, and that's why the water surface dropped. So again, Rich Snarsky, who, well, I've assumed you all know him. He's a registered soil scientist and a professional wetland scientist. He believes, after making several site inspections, that this would be a simple matter of placing some stones in the inlet to raise the water surface back to its normal, proper elevation. We did do a little, Rich asked us to do a little survey work. You can see that change in my screen. So this is just a very simple AutoCAD drawing of a survey we did upstream of the culvert. The green lines are the driveway. The blue lines are the water course that I was showing you in the photo. Water flows from the top of the screen through the culvert to the bottom of the screen. So this is the area that's been dewatered. The red line is the inland wetland boundary that Rich Snarsky delineated, and then we located it. And Rich asked us to get some topography along the wetland boundary, and that's what those light gray lines are. Those are elevation contour lines. We also, I'll zoom in a little here, and we got the inlet elevation of the culvert and the outlet elevation of the culvert, which is, as I was saying, a 36-inch pipe. We set a benchmark for Rich's use, and that's really what we've done to date. I was telling Kathy today that again, after having been there a couple times and speaking with Rich a couple times, I really think that the remedy here should be overseen, should really be directed by and overseen by Rich to make, and I'd be glad to be out there also, but I really think we need Rich out there to ensure that the elevation is set properly and it's restored. The upstream water surface is restored to its original normal elevation. So that's all I have. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions if I can, if the commission has any.
Now, the culvert that we're seeing, is that on the north or the south side of that driveway?
So this is, I don't know the directions, but this is the upstream face of the culvert. The water's flowing out of the picture.
Okay.
If you can see my cursor.
And the driveway's on that side, so all the areas had with elevation is before this picture, is behind us then.
Right. So if we flip, so if you were standing right here, looking at the culvert, and you just simply turned around 180 degrees, you would see that.
Okay.
Yep. And this is that water course that's making its way towards the culvert. And this is the driveway surface up here. I think Nod Road is to the right in this picture.
So I have a question. In the culvert, is there a indication as to what the water level might have been? I mean, sometimes you can actually look at the stone in the culvert and get a sense of how high up the water was flowing. You should be able, sometimes coloration is something. Is there a discoloration that you can see?
There wasn't anything obvious to me, and you know exactly what you mean, but I think in this particular case, it'd be more proper to set the elevation by using Rich's judgment on vegetation. Because sometimes depending on this material, the type of stone and whether there was a drop in the water surface elevation as it passes through the culvert, it may not be a good indicator of the actual stream water surface, if you know what I mean.
That's a fair point. Thank you. And then can you turn your thing around, the camera, the other angle?
Yep. This photo?
Yeah. So at some level, you can take a look at the scouring sort of around, like you can probably see upland where this water probably was met. You could take a look at maybe where the dimensions of the soils actually end, but take a look at those tree lines. You can probably get a sense of where the vegetation changed and have some sense of where the water course used to be. Do we know specifically where the beaver dam was taken out?
Well, let me go to the first part of what you said. What you said is, I think, is exactly correct, and that's how Rich Narsky is making his determination. I don't know. My understanding is that it was. I was not there, and I never saw it. But my understanding is it was at the upstream face and side to some degree.
That's where he was removing the material from, Mike, was right over there. And that's where he placed the metal gate and the fencing.
Oh, and Kathy, until you told the commission about what he did the next day, I was unaware of that.
Yeah.
I thought he was just in there.
So Kathy, what you're saying is he had put other physical structures in the way of this flow of water, and it wasn't the beaver per se having the issues here, although that's what he thought it was. He was altering the course of the water course and trying to do other things with it.
He thought that by putting the fence and the gate in, he would prevent the beavers from going in there. It was like his way of keeping the beavers out.
Got it. Okay.
Well, Kathy,
what he did was he took out rocks and stones to lower the water course.
He said he was taking out the material, the beavers, yeah. And so what he did was he thought that by putting the metal fence and gate that he would keep them out and that they wouldn't build the dam.
Got it. Okay. But clearly we see some structures have had to be removed here, otherwise the water level wouldn't have gone down.
The neighbor that complained said that was not muck. She said there was definitely water in there. There were ducks. And that's why one of the reasons she called me twice was because she said it's become muck and it shouldn't be. And that's why I told him he had to have somebody come out, a soil scientist, and look, because I said, I don't know what normal is. I said, I have no idea what it's supposed to look like in its normal state. And
Kathy, have you ever looked at any historic GIS mapping of this area? I mean, could we take a look?
So Abby and I did look at some on her computer system, and there definitely was water there.
Right. So there you have it, in my view. And from that GIS information, you probably could get a sense of where exactly the boundaries of that water course was, pond, whatever you want to call it. And that, I think, is what we're trying to get from Snarsky is how do we get it back to where it was?
Exactly. And that's what I also wanted to make sure that he didn't cause any adverse impacts to the ecosystem and the habitat.
Well, again, I mean, I think that's ongoing, right? I mean, to the extent that this has happened, we've lost probably fish, lost some. It's definitely been a habitat impact in my mind. There's no question of the fact that you're moving from where you are to what you have. The question is, can it be rehabilitated in relatively short order? Which again, when did this all take place? January or so of this year, right, Kev?
Well, I got I only found out about it with the neighbor complaint, and that was in the end of November. So,
okay, so basically we've had a winter time frame where maybe the impact would have been less, but now that we're back in the spring, we need to get this resolved.
Yes. So and I wasn't sure what the commission would like to do in terms of, an application or any kind of fines. I bring it to you and figured you'd like to discuss, however you want to proceed. I just wanted to have Mike here to explain the plan moving forward, what they think would be the best procedure for fixing it. And then, and I've sent my letters and was trying to get some movement going on this. So again, I'll defer to whatever you think is best.
At least, so I mean, if you look at Google Earth, it's pretty clear that that used to be, standing water, ponded area. I think I would like to see a full application with site plan showing what elevation, if it's going to be rocks that are placed back to establish that water elevation. I'd like to see a site plan showing what that water elevation is, so that we can have it for records, for if this ever does happen again. Plus, that would give the commission the ability to go out. Have opinion on that?
So Scott, I agree with you. I think it should go through that full process. I mean, in essence, he changed the water course and needs to have it replaced and replaced appropriately. My only concern is there a temporary fix to get the thing back up? Is there any way we could do like maybe some kind of temporary fix until it's finally approved? Because, this is spring and that water course is now exposed, and, you could have all kinds of invasive seeds get in there. And anyway, I am concerned that it is exposed, and the effectively the lake bottom is exposed to the environment.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We've got everything coming out right now, and one season of no water in there, I have no idea what it's going to do to those wetlands. I don't know if it can be sandbagged or if something temporary can happen there to raise that level back up, but it sure feels like raising the level up as soon as possible is probably best for that land.
Just, for, opinion's sake, this is near Nod Road.
Yep.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a wetlands behind my house. I'm right off Nod Road, and the wetlands this year have been lower than normal, just, and there was a point where it's almost dry. Now it seems to be coming back a little bit. But I don't know if that is anything that's connected to that area or not.
Mike, I'm wondering what is the anticipated time frame for plans to be ready relative to an application?
Were you asking me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just curious if there is a time frame that you're working under.
I didn't know until your discussion right now that you would want plans in an application. So there's really no timeline. I guess we're gonna, if that's what the commission would like, we're just gonna have to fit it in our schedule and get it done. I think I understand Mr. Goodrich has violated the inland wetlands regulations. That's pretty clear, and he shouldn't have done what he did, including the second day he came back, apparently. But this is, in my opinion, this is so simple and straightforward to fix that if it's okay with the commission, since you'd like to have the water, and it makes sense to me to raise the water surface back to its normal elevation, I would suggest that under Mr. Snarsky's supervision, we place the rocks and raise it up. If you'd like a survey after that to document it, as you said earlier, that we could certainly do that, but that would fix it right away rather than could we go in there and sandbag it? Absolutely. But this is such a quick and simple fix. We might as well.
Bother, right?
Yeah, I actually don't even think I got to go back and look, but this distance from the stream bed to the crown or the roof of the culvert is about 4.5 feet, a little over 4.5 feet. So this must be, I don't know, 3 feet maybe to the top of the driveway. So the driveway is probably maybe 7, 8 feet of the stream bed. I think you could sit up here with a small machine, even a mini excavator, and lower down the proper size stone with a web sling. And there are a couple people down here, and this could be placed properly and chinked, properly, the smaller gaps. And with Rich's, supervision, we could solve the problem very quickly. And again, we could do an as-built survey afterwards to see where the water, where the water surface comes back to. I just did this in line. We had a driveway with the whole culvert washed out, and the pond dropped completely. They lost about 5 feet of water, and we solved the problem. I was there today, actually. The pond came right back up. Rich Snarski was involved in that one too, and according to Rich, he doesn't see any environmental harm in that particular situation. I could ask him about this one, see if he thinks there's been some harm from it lowered for such a long period. But I guess what I'm trying to say, this seems like a simple, quick, and easy fix that we could fix it right away.
So I guess I changed my mind then. I can be convinced that this be done under just a remediation plan for a violation, as long as, I think the only thing I'd be looking to see is that we have something after the fact that shows what the water elevation should be, just for project records in case this happens again.
So Scott, this commission has taken in the past after the fact permits. I mean, if we needed to go through that process, I think what I would suggest, and you tell me what you think, I think we should go out and take a look at it. I think we should make certain that Mr. Snarski's there. I think we should make certain that we understand how the rocks would work and get that done. My sense is we need to do that, relatively quickly so that we can at least have the opportunity to take a look at what we think the impacts might be. I'm glad we have a couple photos, but I mean, I think a site visit makes sense. And then we make a determination based upon that. But I think given how long it's been in terms of when this started to where we are today, my sense is we need to do that relatively quickly. And I think it's important that we get Mr. Snarski out here relatively quickly to show us how that's going to work. Because, if the rocks aren't put in correctly and they get washed out again, that could be a real problem. It sounds to me like Mr. Ott has done this before and has worked with Mr. Snarski on this. I would also like for us to have an opportunity to interview Mr. Snarski about the potential impact and probably get a report from him on what he thinks the impacts might be, because he is a wetland scientist as well.
I did take photos when I did the inspections, and I had sent them out, but it was a long time ago that I sent them to you. But I do have photos, just so you know, as part of this and the complaints.
Okay, that's good. That's important historically to understand. And I think we also have the benefit of GIS mapping from Google Earth as to what was there before. I just think it's important that we hear directly from Mr. Snarski, because we're going to be relying on his information and then expertise to bring this back to where it should be.
Sure.
This is just a thought. See what the commission thinks about this. So I used to be the town engineer in Madison, and we had situations like this, and I learned from our town land use council that the Wetland Commission, and I'm sure I'm telling you something you already know, but the Wetland Commission can issue a cease and correct, which can shorten the time frames. And I remember a couple of times where we held a field meeting, just as you're suggesting, and went right back to the town hall and had a special meeting. And that allowed us to begin work the very next day. And if that makes sense to you all, and if it makes sense to your land use council, I'm sure we could line up Rich to have him be here on the site with you, and then if you did want to come back to the town hall, we'd be glad to come back, and maybe we can schedule this all and get it done, as quickly as possible.
So if the commission would like this, we're certainly, that's within our ability to do. The only thing is, during the site visit, we can't make any determinations or give any direction. That would have to be done at one of our regularly monthly meetings. So, if you would want to be giving opinion, that would need to be on record at our next monthly meeting. So, just throwing that out there, that if we choose to go, you would at least need to wait until May's meeting to give direction and receive testimony from Starsky.
Yeah.
So I think
then you may have missed a full month of what's a particularly often rainy month.
I think what Mr. Ott was suggesting was something slightly different. I think what he was suggesting is that we notice a site walk and we notice a special meeting at a time and place after the site walk, and that at the special meeting, rather than a cease and desist, we would actually have the authority to vote on a cease and correct, so that in essence we would then do that. What I don't know is whether the town of Clinton has ever done a cease and correct, and I think we need to probably check in and find out whether historically that's something we've ever done before. But I don't think any of that really should delay us in setting up a time to at least do a site walk.
Yeah, that's exactly, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly the problem I was trying to solve by, just as Mr. LaFrance just explained. That's why in the story I told you in Madison, we had to go back to the town hall and they opened a special meeting. And that's where they were able to take that action. And it was all about time. It was all about compressing the time frame to be able to get out there and do the work. And again, I only suggested it if as an option if the commission's concerned with time. I know that's one way to do it.
Yep, and that's something we can do. We've done that before. If everyone remembers, it was a warehouse where we held a special meeting because it was time sensitive
Bosch.
Bosch for COVID production.
But just for the record, I think that was we escalated that for a permit as opposed to a remedial action.
Correct.
So ultimately, we may end up agreeing that the action is necessary, and then have them come in and do an after the fact permit and document everything in the form of a permit. So we could get the work accomplished and then have them come back and say, okay, this is now done via permit, and here's all the permit conditions, and this is where you're going to have to keep it in the future, and have a better, solid, enforceable record and permit for that going forward.
And again, I apologize. I hope I haven't overstepped my bounds here. And Abby and Kathy should certainly weigh in on that option. But I just wanted to mention it as a possible way to get this done very quickly.
Well, we could set up a meeting next Thursday, the 13th.
I think what would make sense is to find a time to schedule for the site visit where folks have a large enough window that we could also schedule that follow-up special meeting so that we have time to post and all that kind of stuff. So whether that happens, so for staff purposes, the easiest time to do that is in that Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. range. And it could be either the special meeting back at Town Hall, or it could be a virtual special meeting as long as it's on the books in time. And so, we can certainly walk through our regulations and advise on coming back with the corrective action and moving forward. But that's probably the fastest. I think with the other evening meetings that are next week, that Thursday would be the soonest, I believe.
Abby, could we schedule, hypothetically, could we schedule it Thursday at 6 and then schedule a virtual meeting at 6:30? We literally could be sitting in our cars on our phones, and this is going to be a quick one, right? It's going to be 5 minutes on and off to discuss this. Is that something technologically, I think we could do it, but
if you're going to be there, anyway, you could probably just meet in person for the meeting.
Yeah, are you allowed to meet in person on a site? I don't know. Not
The
supposed
issue
to.
is this is on private property, and so it's not as though it's sort of a generally publicly accessible space with parking and that kind of stuff. It's kind of a tough spot to hold a meeting in that sense. But if folks were there and we either said, okay, we're going to meet in person at 5:30 and at 6:30, we'll either be at a particular location or online by that point. You could schedule
or,
it that way.
it could be in the parking lot of town hall if we wanted it. If it's
So
anywhere
the
to
issue,
get
I
done quickly.
think, Ryan, we're still meeting virtually. I think that's a matter of, I don't think we've been directed by the town to start to meet again in person. So I don't know whether a meeting, quote unquote, meeting in person is something that's currently authorized. I'm not certain. I'll defer to Abby and
The
Kathy on that. But
each
I think realistically, if we were to meet at 6,
sustainables meeting in person.
Yeah, each board and commission is being given the opportunity to decide for themselves. So, for example, Planning and Zoning Commission, Monday will be their first in-person meeting. Other land use boards and commissions are still meeting virtually. Sustainable is meeting in person. So it really is on a case-by-case basis.
so we could come
And
back to
it's at your
town hall
discretion.
after a meeting. There's no prohibition currently for this commission to say, for example, next Thursday we do a site walk and we come back to a special meeting, notice it, and the meeting is at town hall.
You could absolutely do that.
Okay.
And
That would be
we'll
my
check on the
preference.
room
I think
schedule.
my preference would be to do that, meet at 6 and then come back to town hall and wrap it up.
Yep.
And the question I think is, how much time do you need to properly notice that? I mean, could we do it as early as Thursday of next week, or do we need to go to the 20th, I guess would be the next available time?
I'm okay either day.
I'm okay either day too. I'm just trying to defer to the group here to find out what works in terms of, Kathy, really it's for you. Are
I
you
just
going to
have
have
to
enough
think
time
off
to
the top
notice
of my
the
head
special?
that I'd have to check the deadlines at the office because we post at the Harbor News. So I would just have to double check the dates.
Yeah, so typically, I mean, so there's the meeting date posting for Harbor News and any notices that way. There's also the posting in town hall, which is typically within 48 hours for the special meeting. So,
Yeah, that's fine.
so that's fairly straightforward. It may be worthwhile just to get a straw poll here, and then Mike, do you want to connect with Rich on what his availability might be, and that's going to kind of drive things since the commission wants to be there when he's there.
Absolutely. I'll give him a call in the morning.
And then we'll send out a follow up with possible dates.
And
so again, in terms of,
other,
I think it makes a lot of sense to do it on the Thursdays because staff is already working. That makes a lot of sense from my perspective. I'm available on the 14th. I can make myself available on the 20th. Just let me know which works. And then we probably should also set a rain date as well.
Oh, but you know what? It's not a public hearing. It's a regular meeting, so we don't need to put it in the paper.
There's no legal notice for this, Kathy. It's just
Yeah.
the 24-hour posting for the
Yeah.
technically special meetings in person could be 24 hours. So we'll go back and check the modifications to statute. Virtual has to be 48, but we can.
It's really just based on Rich's availability. Then we can easily do it on our end, and also if we'll have a quorum. So I guess if you're all available the 13th or the 20th, I don't know. Does anyone have anything that they know that they won't be available?
I won't be the 20th.
Either date, or are you all available?
I'm just not available on the 20th.
Okay.
What do we need for a quorum?
13th.
How many?
4 people for a quorum.
4 people. I'm good for both days.
Oh, great. Okay. So then it's really based on Rich Snarsky then.
Yeah.
And we
Again,
could
I mean,
always do one.
to the extent that Rich Snarsky isn't available to the following week, I'm just hoping he's available on one of those 2 Thursdays, right?
And sorry to circle back on this. Is our other option to allow the professionals to do the remediation as they see fit, and then just have them file the application after the fact? Is that on the table for us? Is it something that we can do?
I personally, having seen what we have here, would prefer that we go out as a commission and take a look and understand the impact. I think we have a permit applicability question. We have a potential impact to the resource question. I think we as a commission need to take a look at what actually has happened there and be informed by the expert in this particular case, which is Rich Snarski.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like we have at least enough for a quorum on either the 13th or the 20th. So I guess, Mr. Ott, you'll be in touch with Kathy to determine Rich Snarski's availability on either of those 2 dates. And
Mr. Chairman, yeah.
okay, and then it looks like we'll hold a site visit at 6 o'clock on either of those 2 dates, followed up by a special meeting in person at Town Hall at 6:30.
Yep.
Okay.
Am I silly? That's, you still have to drive from place to place. That only gives you, like, I don't know, is that enough time? I mean, I guess my question is, should we just do it at 7? I guess I don't understand why we're trying to save 30 minutes there and, be more relaxed than to try and force it in 30 minutes. My only concern.
Should we do the site visit at 5:30 or 5:45?
5:45 works better for me than 5:30.
I could do 5:45 and then have the meeting back at Town Hall at 6:30. That gives us 45 minutes and it's not that far. That's reasonable.
Yeah. So 5:45 site visit and then 6:30 the meeting. That sounds better. I agree with you, Robert. Just for driving and parking and all that. Okay.
Is Town Hall, is the green room available on those 2 dates?
We'll have to check.
Okay. All right. Any comments from the commission on this violation that way? It'll allow us to comment, to see it prior to work being done and kind of quickly get it done so that we can get this work done this month. Okay, it sounds like a plan to me.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, hopefully, Abby and Kathy, I haven't suggested something that your town land use council doesn't think is a good idea. So you might, it might be good to check with them. But
we'll weigh in and give everybody, if there's a flaw, at least the site visit will have happened, and I think that's an important piece to have no matter what. So.
Okay, thanks.
Well said, Abby. I agree 100%.
All right, so Mike, I'll wait to hear from you about Rich's availability.
Okay. Yep.
All right, great.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, moving along on to item agenda number 7, correspondence. I guess, Kathy, is there any correspondence that we need pointed out for this month?
Not that I'm aware of.
I didn't see any either. Item agenda number 8, old business. Does anyone have anything to discuss under old business?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, item agenda number 9, new business. Anything have any discussions before we adjourn for the night?
Again, not that I'm aware of.
So Scott, are we meeting in person now? Is that what I'm understanding?
No, just for this special meeting.
Oh, okay. I'm not back until the end of May.
Yeah, you're still in Florida. So, for this one, don't worry about it. This is just a special exception just so that we don't waste a wet season of, them out there not fixing something. Might as well take advantage of it. And if we can, as long as we have enough for a quorum and everyone's okay with the commission able to making this determination, I think this is okay that we kind of rush this one through for the sake of.
I think we're doing it to protect the resource, Scott. I think that's right. I understand, Mike, you want to be able to be here in person. You're in Florida. We can do it virtually. I'm not trying to stop that. I just didn't know whether the town had allowed us to come back and to do that in person. And again, I don't know whether a lot of places are doing things where it's hybrid, right? If you weren't around, you could call in and be in the meeting too. So I guess we'll deal with all of that, right?
You guys can figure it out.
So I just want to give people, this is new business as well. It's more of an update than anything else, but there was a bill that came out of the Environment Committee up in Hartford where there's a likelihood, I don't know whether it passes or not, but the proposal is that every member of a committee of the commission will have to go through a wetlands training. Right now, there's a requirement that one person be trained, but this bill, if it passed, would require all of us to go through the training.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Anyone have anything else for tonight?
Nope.
Okay, all right. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move adjourned.
Heard Rob.
Yep, or second, either way, whatever you want to do.
Larry, I heard Larry speak up for seconding. Any discussion? No. Those voting in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see whoever can show up either the 13th or the 20th for special meeting.
Kathy, you'll send an email around letting us know, right?
Bye,
As soon as I hear from Michael Lott.
Great. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Have
Night
a
all.
good evening.
Good night.
Kathy,
Yes.
this is Bert. I'm not getting